When the county water marshal walked into the Lakeshore Haven Community Lodge with a clipboard and 3 deputies, the pickleball tournament came to a dead stop. Paddle strings twanged mid-swing, someone yelled foul, but then fell silent when the marshal ripped a bright orange water use termination notice from his folder and slapped it directly onto the bulletin board that read, Lakeshore Haven, a premier waterfront HOA. Effective immediately, he announced. All docks, boat ramps, water access paths, and shoreline structures are to be vacated. They sit on land owned by, he squinted at the document, Mr. Elias Crow. 40 heads swiveled in perfect unison toward the back corner of the lodge, where I was quietly trying to disappear behind a styrofoam cup of lukewarm coffee. You. The voice came sharp as broken glass. Marina Halbrook, HOA president, serial micromanager, self-appointed sheriff of the neighborhood, marched toward me in her crisp white capri pants and a peach-colored blazer that looked like it squeaked when she moved. Her pearl necklace bounced aggressively with every step. Behind her trailed 2 board members armed with clipboards, like they expected to write me a ticket on the spot. You're the fisherman squatting in that tiny cabin on the North Bend, the one with the unapproved tin roof. You don't even live inside our jurisdiction. I sipped my coffee. Funny you mention jurisdiction, since technically your entire shoreline is inside mine. The room erupted. People shouted over each other. Someone asked if their mortgage was fake. Another demanded a refund on their lakeside view premium. Marina spun around to the water marshal, practically vibrating with fury. You can't shut down our lake access. We have bylaws. Ma'am, he said, adjusting his hat with the look of a man who had dealt with too many HOAs. Bylaws don't override county hydrology and water rights records. She jabbed a finger at me next. You think you can waltz in here with some dusty paperwork and take what we've built for 20 years? We run this community. I shrugged. You started all this with a $75 fine for my fishing nets drying on my own fence. And that was how an HOA discovered their luxury lake paradise was sitting on land, technically lakebed land, they didn't own. I'm Elias Crow, 39. Hydrologist by training, land surveyor by work. Social skills of a moderately friendly raccoon. After a decade working for environmental contractors, I realized 2 things. 1, I like rivers more than people. 2, I really like old water rights records. When a distant uncle I'd barely met left me a modest inheritance, I didn't buy a truck. I didn't buy a boat. I bought land. Watershed parcels, marsh strips, riverbank remnants, weird leftovers no developer wanted. Then, at a quiet county auction on a hot Tuesday, Lot 12B popped up. 1,800 acres of river corridor and lakebed rights, tax delinquent, previously owned by a defunct development company called Silver Basin Holdings. No one bid. Not one person. They saw swamp. I saw paperwork gold. 45 minutes later, I owned nearly the entire water boundary around Lakeshore Haven, a community that has assumed the lake edge automatically belonged to them. Spoiler, it didn't. The first time I met Marina, she wasn't yelling, yet. She was power walking down my dirt driveway in a lemon-yellow windbreaker, sunglasses perched on her head like she was investigating a crime scene. 2 board members followed her, snapping photos of things that looked suspiciously like grass. Sir, she said sharply, this pathway is not up to Lakeshore Haven standards. I looked at the path, a simple gravel bend that clearly sat outside the HOA's decorative wooden gate. That's because it's not yours. You're trespassing. She smiled in that brittle, polite way people do when they're about to be unreasonable. Everything leading to the lake is HOA regulated. Your cabin, your shed, your fishing nets, none of them were approved. I don't live in your community, I repeated. If you walk near our lake, you're part of it, she snapped. That lake, I said slowly, is on my land. She laughed. Oh, she laughed. By the end of the week, an HOA compliance notice landed in my mailbox claiming, storing commercial fishing gear in view, unauthorized aquatic activity, unauthorized personal dock, my canoe on the shore, and violating shoreline beautification guidelines. Fine total, $185, accruing daily. I ignored it. They escalated. A drone buzzed over my cabin. Someone took photos from the tree line. Then came the letter demanding I stop using the HOA-owned lakefront entirely. They were threatening to ban me from the land I legally owned. If this were a movie, someone would have said he tried to walk away, but they didn't let him. Yeah, that. That's when I called attorney Tamar Jin, a water rights lawyer with the energy of a patient lion and the patience of a tired aunt. She read through the deeds, maps, and the HOA's threatening letter. Then she exhaled slowly. Oh, she said, lips curling into a grin. They have no idea how bad they've messed up. And that was the moment the lake started shifting beneath them.
Tamar didn't just send a letter. She sent a certified, return receipt, lawyer-grade thunderbolt. Dear Lakeshore Haven Board, it has come to our attention that your docks, ramps, access paths, and shoreline improvements rest on property owned by our client, Mr. Elias Crow. We request a meeting to formalize easements and usage agreements in good faith. Marina replied in 9 minutes. We will not negotiate with a trespasser. You are subject to our bylaws. Remove all unapproved structures immediately. She CC'd half the neighborhood, and the mayor, and her tennis team. 2 weeks later, they sued me. Count 1, trespassing. Count 2, unauthorized shoreline modification. Count 3, violating HOA aesthetic harmony. Tamar read the complaint, leaning back in her chair like a cat in sunbeam. These people, she said, are about to regret having printers. Our counterclaims were a sledgehammer. Quiet title, to prove all shoreline land was mine. Injunction, to stop all HOA interference. Damages for harassment and obstruction of access. Compensation for encroaching structures. And declaratory judgment voiding HOA authority over my land. The preliminary hearing room was packed. Residents, newsy neighbors, and 3 people who clearly came just for the spectacle. Marina arrived in nautical-themed pearls, clutching a binder labeled Covenants, so tightly her knuckles went white. The judge, a silver-haired man who looked allergic to nonsense, began with a simple question. Does the HOA dispute Mr. Crow's deed to the lakebed parcels? Their attorney cleared his throat. Our community has used the lakefront for years, Your Honor. That's not what I asked. Do you dispute his deed? A long, painful pause. Yes, Your Honor. Murmurs rippled through the room. The judge turned a page slowly, dramatically. So you fined him for placing a canoe on land he owns, and for using his shoreline. Per HOA bylaws, the attorney began, HOA bylaws cannot override county property records. This is basic law. Marina shot up. If we don't enforce standards, people will start decorating with tacky coolers and mismatched chairs. The shoreline will become hideous. The judge stared at her for a long, heavy moment. Ma'am, your entire community may already be in deeper trouble than you understand. That was the moment everything shifted. Word spread fast. Residents panicked faster. Rumors flew. The HOA doesn't own the lake? Our docks are illegal? Can our mortgages collapse? The board sent chipper newsletters.
Do not believe misinformation. Lakeshore Haven remains a stable, premier community. Meanwhile, Tamar was working like a storm. She subpoenaed the original developer's contracts, HOA insurance policies, and every board meeting transcript mentioning me or shoreline control. Those minutes were radioactive. In one meeting, Marina said, "I don't care what old records say. If someone touches our lake, they answer to me." We also found real estate disclosures, handwritten by Marina, stating, "All shoreline rights fully secured, zero title issues." Spoiler? There were title issues. When the HOA's insurance saw Tamar's counterclaims, they denied coverage for anything tied to pre-existing property defects, meaning the HOA was on the hook, the homeowners were on the hook, board members were personally on the hook. I came with one goal: end the harassment, keep the peace. Marina came with the energy of a malfunctioning leaf blower. "This is extortion," she snapped. "He wants to ruin our community." I raised an eyebrow. "You fined me $145 a day for drying my fishing nets." Tamar laid out an appraisal. The value of the lakefront land under the docks or shoreline paths was 7 figures. Their treasurer turned the color of skim milk. The mediator cleared his throat gently. "If this goes to trial and Mr. Crow prevails, your association may owe him the full land value, or he could restrict access." A board member squeaked. "He can evict our docks?" "In theory, yes," the mediator said. The room went silent except for someone quietly hyperventilating. It felt less like litigation and more like a slow-motion disaster. The county hydrologist testified that Silver Basin Holdings never completed the purchase of the lakebed rights. A former developer's partner admitted on record, "No, we never bought the shoreline parcels. We planned to. The HOA went ahead anyway." Marina's face cracked. The HOA attorney attempted a years of use equals ownership defense. Tamar dismantled it like it was made of wet crackers. "So, your argument is, essentially, we trespassed confidently for a long time." The judge rubbed his temples. And then came the ruling. My ownership of all lakebed parcels was confirmed. The HOA's authority over me was nullified permanently. Their fines and harassment were declared abusive. Their docks, ramps, and paths were ruled encroachments requiring compensation. The HOA was ordered to enter a supervised settlement. Then came the hammer. The settlement terms. Residents got 3 options. 1. Purchase the land under their docks or shoreline paths at a fair rate. 2. Enter a 99-year easement with modest fees. Or 3. Remove their structures entirely. But the HOA? The judge ordered it dissolved. The board had been reckless, dishonest, and legally incompetent. Then came the personal consequences. Because Marina had knowingly misrepresented the lake rights for years, the judge allowed personal liability for a portion of the damages. Her amount? $310,000. When she heard the number, her expression collapsed. "You can't do this," she whispered, voice trembling. The judge looked at her with tired, weary eyes. "Ma'am, you did this to yourself."